What's going on, guys? This is RBG coming at you with a quick video on the Transformers Cybertron series. We know it's been a lot of speculation going on with these games, with some people giving up speculation because, to be honest with you, this just seems like a thing that will never manifest into reality, where people just want to see these games unblacklisted. We know that they have been off store shelves for quite some time, and people just really want to see them remastered and brought back to the forefront, so fans who haven't had the opportunity can play them, as well as the fans who really adored these titles. And before we dive into this topic, I want to ask you guys to do me the biggest favor and like this video. Yeah, I know it's a bit annoying getting this request at the very beginning of the video before you watch it in its entirety, but YouTube's algorithm encourages it. So if you rock with your boy, and you know I'm going to bring that awesome content, then smash that like button. But if by any chance you just so happen to be new to the channel and you feel like I wasted a few minutes of your time that you can't get back, feel free to retract that like and give it a dislike. Just rate the video. But yeah, guys, like I said, we have been wanting this to manifest into something for quite some time now, but for whatever reason it still hasn't happened, and it's because of this that people have speculated on all the different parties involved regarding like Microsoft. After acquiring the rights to Activision, they became the sole owners of anything that was published under that particular umbrella, so that means that they own all of the games that were made by Activision. And it's because of that fact many people assume that games like Transformers War 4 and Fall of Cybertron would actually make a return, but there was one big roadblock stopping that from ever happening, and that's the fact that Activision lost the license to do Transformers games years ago, which would mean that Microsoft and Hasbro would have to come to some sort of agreement to redistribute the games. And for a while it seemed like we were going to eventually get this, because both sides seemed like they shared a mutual interest in reviving these games and putting them back on platforms and store shelves, so all we had to do was just wait. But we waited and waited and waited, and nothing was ever officially announced. As a matter of fact, the closest thing that we even got to a revival of the Cybertron games would have to be the Studio Series Gamer Edition figures that would use the designs from Transformers War for Cybertron, but nothing else really came from it. I think the only other thing that we ever heard from Microsoft was the fact that they were having a hard time accessing the files to the Cybertron games, only for it to later be pointed out that there was all just some kind of misconstrued statement, and they actually did have them. It was just a matter of when they would want to do this. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was just going to halt any future Transformers Cybertron games video because I felt like it was just never going to happen. But I know there are a lot of people who really want to see these games make a return because they're classics. Not to mention that Hasbro has basically been sitting on the franchise and they haven't really teamed up with many developers to make anything new. So yes, we're going to continue to hold out hope so we can play these epic games once again. And according to these new details, it seems like we can see the Cybertron games make a return sooner than we expected, with neither Microsoft or Hasbro having to go through the whole legal process. And that's because of backwards compatibility, which for the longest time seemed like an approach that Microsoft was adamant about keeping going, but the support would stop in 2021, which was 2 years before Microsoft decided to buy Activision, leaving Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron in the cold. But now it has a chance of sitting in the warm confines of Activision's expansive library thanks to backwards compatibility. A couple weeks ago at this year's game development conference, it was announced by the Xbox VP that they would actually be bringing back backwards compatibility, saying, and I quote, "As a part of our 25th anniversary later this year, the game preservation team will release some iconic games from the past that are now going to be able to be played in entirely new ways." And after receiving this news, the community went in an uproar of hype, because one of the biggest benefits about having backwards compatibility on things like Xbox One X and the Series X is the fact that it comes with so many different things to maximize the visual and performance potential of these pre-existing games. We're talking increased resolutions that allow games that originally ran at 720p to now run at 4K. You also have HDR10 included, and then there's the added bonus of increased frame rates that go up to 60 frames per second to 120 frames per second. So in essence, there's not necessarily a need for a remaster, at least for the Xbox platform, which is where the big issue lies, because I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people within this community that don't necessarily own an Xbox One or a Series X, and they don't feel like going out of their way to get one just to play Transformers, especially now given the fact that the Series X and S have gone up in price. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I doubt they would even want to go back and buy this console even if it was at the original retail price. It's just a little too much money just to play some old games. And it kind of goes back to that issue that I talked about in regards to older games like Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, where even though there are a few copies still floating around online to be purchased, they cost a lot of money since they are so rare. And the only flexibility that you will have outside of the Xbox will be for the PC, since apparently Microsoft is planning on launching their Xbox mode for Windows 11. So yeah, if you are a PlayStation fan and you own a PlayStation 4 and 5, then you're out of luck for this one. But to those who do just so happen to own both platforms, whether it be a PC or Xbox Series X, you actually have a chance to play these games again. And that doesn't just include these Cybertron games. No, you actually have a chance to experience all the Transformers games that were made under Activision. Because shortly after we got the announcement that backwards compatibility for the Xbox Series X would be making a return, fans launched a website called XboxGamePreservation.com to track what players actually want from Xbox's backwards compatibility program. And to no surprise, the game that's garnered the most votes so far would be Transformers War for Cybertron, with Fall of Cybertron following close behind. As of the recording of this video, War for Cybertron has 4,031 votes and Fall of Cybertron has 3,987 votes, and the one that comes close to those games would be Transformers Devastation, which has 2,699 votes. But you also have the movie tie-in games, which were not that popular compared to the Cybertron games or Devastation, but they also have garnered a good fan base, and even these games are leading in the voting bracket, with the first movie game having 2,290 votes, Revenge of the Fallen having 2,365 votes, and Dark of the Moon having 2,414 votes, making it the most popular amongst the tie-in games, which is for a good reason, because that's actually a game that was developed by the same team that developed the Cybertron games. You also have Rise of the Darkspark, which has 1,728 votes, but not that many people care about that since that was basically a hodgepodge of pre-existing assets from Fall of Cybertron and Dark of the Moon. But hey, some fans seem to like that game. I think all of these games have garnered their fair share of fans, and this is just a good sign that yes, people can experience these games if they've never experienced them before, and fans who've already had the opportunity to experience these games can now do so at a higher resolution and frame rate. I also just got to point out that another drawback to this entire situation would have to be that you absolutely have to own the Transformers games already in order to access these things. That's unless, as I mentioned earlier, that Microsoft and Hasbro work out some kind of deal to where maybe they can have this as an Xbox Live type of game. But that's basically all I got for you guys. I just thought I'd bring it to you guys' attention, especially those that are still interested in this and holding out hope that they are actually going to be doing some form of a remaster for these titles. I just feel like I am obligated to be the watchman on that watchtower that lets you guys know any updates that I have in regards to the Cybertron titles and even the movie tie-in titles for that matter. Because like I said, there's not that many games being made nowadays, especially on a AAA level for Transformers, so we kind of have to go back to those old school games just to get that fulfillment, because the games that we were going to get have essentially been canceled. And even though Hasbro has come out and stated that they are focused on making new console games for Transformers, there's no telling when they're going to make a new one. So the only thing we can do is just sit on our hands and wait until they get their act together and hire developers that can actually shine a spotlight on all these awesome characters, especially to a new audience. But until then, we just gotta chill and hope that we actually get the Transformers Cybertron games back again. But what do you think about this? Are you excited as an Xbox player that you get a chance to access these games and play them at a higher fidelity? Or are you one of those unfortunate fans who just so happens to own a PlayStation 5 and just doesn't feel like spending extra cash to play these games? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. But if you really enjoyed this video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on all the different social media outlets. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is RBG, aka the Random Black Gamer, signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.